more clear, Daryl. I think that's the point. That is the point, and that's the Officer Bacot. That's what you emphasize. That is just so right. We're going back, and what they're doing to go back is he has committed to rid this country of darkness, and in his mind, darkness really is dark-skinned people. He's going to remove as many as he can because they're going back means a land of whiteness. And if we don't understand that and the point that Barbara just raised and how race is looming over all of this.
Exactly. Dianne, Daryl, let me pick up on this because I want to take it all the way, folks. I don't know how many people listening today around the country saw or have watched Elon Musk's speech that he gave to the AfD in Germany. The AfD, folks, is the ultra-right-wing white supremacist party in Germany that is on the rise, as is other white supremacist parties and authoritarian parties looking very Trump-like, or Trump's looking very much like them, all over Europe. This is a global phenomena of authoritarianism, but in Europe, it has the white supremacists cast on top of it. Steve Bannon has, done this before in Italy, made similar speeches, but Musk just gave a speech where he talked about how proud he is of his German heritage, how German heritage has to be celebrated all over and known, and how critical it is for the AfD to win, and did all of this speaking while he is, on the other hand, speaking out the other side of his mouth about how DEI and how teaching Black history and all of this is just, making things muddled and confusing. And he says, that he's against, during his speech, multiculturalism because it waters down the German aspect. Folks, you got to understand what's going on, that it's a global movement, that is, that this is a real threat to all of us. And
That's
for
right.
the 19 million of you who sat home and didn't vote, you were registered Democrats, but you did not vote. Some of you, I think I've seen a new study out, says about 5 million of you were subjected to evil, unlawful voter suppression. But the others, you didn't vote because you didn't think it was going to be this bad. You thought that he was just jiving. You thought he was just talking, running his mouth. And now you're seeing he is dead serious. And the people who support him are dead serious about making this country white again. Not great again, white again. They don't care if it's great. They just want it white. I just really think we have to call what we're looking at what it is, and we need to define it, and we shouldn't walk away from being honest about the moment we're in. And let me be clear. The South hasn't won. It's trying to win. That's the way to put it, folks. They're attempting to take over this entire country. They're attempting to make this permanent, but administration is only 4 years, folks. There's a midterm coming up in 2 years. I want people to stop being in this defeatist mentality. It's not over. We are still at war, and we will be at war until we end this white supremacist taint, this illness that's over our country. I'm sorry, Daryl. You know me.
That's okay, Barbara. No, I appreciate that. But let's take it down south because we're talking about the South. Let's go all the way down to Alabama. Bryson Powers, you're down there in Alabama. Can you tell us, you've heard a lot of this conversation about the mass deportations. You heard a lot of the conversations about the DEI. And let's be clear, DEI, I say DEIA because it's not just diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's also accessibility because they're after those that have physical disabilities and questioning funding and things for them. So Bryson, talk to us about Alabama. What are you hearing? What's going on?
Absolutely. So like Edward, I am actually an education major, Daryl. So I am in the school systems almost every day as well. And so with the mass deportations, they said that it was, to get the criminals, quote unquote, criminals out of our countries. But why are we bothering the children? We are the same people who talk about every day that the reading level is, below a first grade level, below a third grade level, but yet we are trying to take the children out of the school. And as far as the DEI and the DEIA, Daryl, he just froze federal loans, federal grants this morning, but yet we want to fill these positions with quote-unquote merit-based professionals, but yet we are taking monies away from the college students now. So how do we want to produce more professionals? How do we want to produce more qualified people if we are taking the accessibility away from them? So, Daryl, I just have a lot of questions that are not being answered with the policies, with the executive orders that are being written. And so one of my main questions are to the people who's trying to take away DEI, to the people who are going to round up the children. Are you morally following orders, or are you following the request of your political master? So, Daryl, that's the question that I am at today. I am outraged. I am absolutely outraged, Daryl.
Well, Dianne, we hear what's happening now in Alabama. We hear what's happening in Chicago. I understand that the ICE officers have been going through Boston as well. Is that correct?
They've been in Boston, the market baskets where people go to shop. They're now focusing on nursing homes, daycare service, because that's where that population is. This morning, as I said, the news is that they are at Boston Children's Hospital. I presume looking for their staffs, right? The orderlies, the people who cared for our institutionalized, whether it was hospital, nursing homes during COVID, that we came to call. This is so sick. When I mentioned earlier that I don't think that there's a end game plan to this, this is what I mean. So let's say they're successful and they're able to vote. What's supposed to happen here? You know what I mean? What is supposed to happen? People are just going to be laying there with no one to care for them? Are all these, the folks that are supporting his policies now going to pick their own vegetables and milk their own cows? I mean, this is so ill-conceived. This idea that we can't have transgenders in the military, kind of come up with something new, buddy. This is crazy. We can't show you the videos about the Tuskegee Airmen, the entire system. The reason why I say we have to be encouraged, Daryl, is because we have the benefit of these are not smart people we're dealing with. It's one thing to have to fight the level of racism, but when you have dumb racists that don't know history, clearly don't know what they're doing, that's where I draw my optimism from, because I don't think that they have any idea on what to do. Like you chasing the dogs that chases the car or the bus until they catch it. They have no idea what they're going to do with this. They don't. We haven't even talked about
Mr. Bacot, there had to be some type of instruction, some type of rule promulgation that was in place for law enforcement when it came to going after people that are in nursing homes, in hospitals. There's got to be something. It just feels morally wrong to do this. I mean,
but we've used that word, morality, legality. The fact is that I mentioned this to Barbara Arnwine yesterday. A bigger issue: how are we going to move down the road in this country, being policed and having a criminal injustice system that is run by criminals? When do we have? We demand, that we check the box off of employment records. What's the standard now? Who's going to enforce it? The criminals are going to insist that you can't hire people with a record? Like this, the whole thing is irrational to its core, but that's the essence of racism, isn't it? It's not rational.
Yeah.
Diane, I'd agree with you 100%. And there is no morality here. There is evil here, and there is chaos agents here. I mean, that's the whole thing is about chaos. And remember that what they're trying to get to, of course, is to the point of where you do, and we'll take it back to South Africa, where you do have to, when they had apartheid, where you had to show your ID on everything that you did and everything that you were supposed to do if you're a person of color. It's not the white people have to show anything. They're just supposed to be, they're grandfathered into this, great, wonderful world of white. But that doesn't mean that white is right. And you're right. They're not all that intelligent, but they have the financial backing when it comes to now we get down to finances and why they're trying to take the economic standard away from people of color so that they can have the means to continue to do exactly what they're doing. This is not, remember, it's not just Mr. Orange Man. He's also at the beck and call of these billionaires.
That's correct.
He's at their beck and call because he can't even think past yesterday anyway. I mean, all the stuff that he signed, all these executive orders that he signed. By the way, he just signed an executive order where he's telling veterans that they can't collect both their veterans benefit if I'm a disabled veteran. He's telling me that I can't collect my veterans benefit if I also have a federal retirement. Now, now you're getting into people's pockets. Now you're starting to affect what this is going to do. The only way, well, one of the ways, not the only way, take that back. What we have to realize is we, the people of color, the African, blacks in America, brown people, when we argue right now, they don't want to hear that argument. But see, when you start tapping into the benefits of white America, those same white veterans who may not be able to get it, because there's a lot of white folks who are double dipping, okay? And when you start affecting their income, then you start getting this uprise of, there's been a tragedy that have occurred. And you can see that many on whatever media stream you subscribe to these days, you'll see all of a sudden you'll have the white person going, well, oh, my God, I didn't realize he was doing that. You didn't get anything from the first administration. Okay, so now you got the second administration. And the key to the second administration is actually, of course, much, much worse than the first. Why? Because initially the civil servants who were in those positions, a lot of them pushed back against particular rules and regulations in the first administration. Now he's figured out this second go around, or the minions have figured out how to push all of those particular voices out now. So now you're talking dictatorship, which we have to be careful about, because that means they can do anything they want, however they want to do it. And we have to find that nugget, though. And I think, Byron, I think you're on my mind, because you said something important. You said initially the people that you were going to deport were criminals. Well, I don't know of the 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old that is a criminal, and you're trying to go after those individuals. So what? You can have the parents run down to get them so you can get the parents now? See, that's part of that strategy that they're utilizing from the evil side of things. Now, someone asked me about, Barry asked me about law enforcement. Law enforcement, they will get an edict from the executive directors of their agencies. They will say, okay, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And they'll go, really? Okay. And they will start going out and trying to round up, probably initially, I don't want to say initially, the last week that is, that's the only initial you got, because the second week, don't tell me about it anymore. There may have been some warrants out for some people, and they will pull all those warrants and say, okay, let's go after these folks. But what gets entangled in that is everybody else. Well, who else is in this house? And who's your neighbor? And who's across the street? That's when the snowball effect occurs, and you start drawing in people who, you look Hispanic, or you look Haitian, or you look and you start bringing in just what you want to call your regular Americans, where issues should start occurring. From the school standpoint, I will have to agree with Edward again, and Byron maybe. This is something that you guys can message as a community of educators. You have to say, no, you're not in my classroom. Now, this is when we get back to what happened during the Civil Rights Movement. You might be arrested for doing that. Martin Luther King went to prison.